At the edge of the woods stood a cottage that remembered things. Each morning began the same. The herbs were gathered before dawn, hung to dry beside the fire, and the kettle sang long before the birds did. I had lived there so long that the silence no longer frightened me. The floorboards knew my footsteps, the windows knew where I would stand at dusk. Even the smoke curled through the rooms as though it had learned my habits. And beyond the trees, the forest waited. At first I thought the changes were small enough to ignore. A page left open where I did not remember leaving it. Herbs scattered differently across the table. Candles flickering where there was no wind. Then the smoke began moving against the air. The pages no longer stayed where I left them. And some nights I could have sworn the cottage breathed beside me. Still, I told myself the woods were only restless, until they began leaving things at my door. Flowers I had never gathered, branches twisted into strange shapes, footprints that vanished before morning. And always the feeling that something had been standing just beyond the trees, watching, waiting. The deeper the evenings grew, the stranger the cottage became. The kettle would whistle before the fire was lit. The lantern swayed through my hands was still, and the old journal upon the table began opening to pages I had never written, yet somehow I understood them. It felt less like discovering something new, and more like remembering something forgotten, as though the woods had known me long before I knew myself. I stopped sleeping easily after that. The forest found its way into my dreams. I heard whispers carried through branches, saw lanterns drifting between the trees where no path existed, felt something calling softly from beyond the mist. Not cruel, not angry, only patient, as if the woods were waiting for me to return. So one evening, just as the last light disappeared beyond the hills, I followed the sound into the trees. The deeper I wandered, the quieter the world became. No birds, no wind, only the hush of the forest breathing around me. And for the first time, I was no longer afraid. The trees no longer felt unfamiliar. The shadows no longer seemed empty. Everything around me felt ancient, but welcoming, like stepping into a memory I had once abandoned. And there beneath the mist and the silence, I understood. The cottage had not been haunted. The forest had simply been calling me home, and perhaps it always had. I feel like this short little film was kind of the start of a new era for me creatively. I watched the French Beauty and the Beast film recently, and I genuinely couldn't stop thinking about the atmosphere of it afterwards. Everything felt so dreamy and old and magical without trying too hard, and it made me realise how much I want my videos to feel more like little worlds people can disappear into instead of just normal YouTube videos. So this was basically me experimenting with that idea for the first time. I'm very new to editing and colour grading and videography in general, so yeah, this is all very new to me. So I'm not saying this is some groundbreaking short story, but it was definitely fun for me to film. I really wanted the cottage to feel alive, like it had memories almost, and like the woods were slowly creeping into the house. I actually became obsessed with tiny details while filming this. I used to really worry people would get bored if things weren't constantly happening, but I think the quiet moments are actually my favourite parts now. The forest scenes especially felt really calming to film. There's something about being in the woods with a camera that feels almost therapeutic, honestly. I also definitely want to experiment more with practical effects and stop motion after this, because I love making like the spoon move around the drink and things moving on their own. It felt like kind of creating an old fairy tale magic in real life. I'd really love to know what parts felt the most immersive to you though, because I want to make more films like this and build this kind of world more. And also, if you have any folklore stories, fairy tales, myths, or films that you think would fit this kind of atmosphere, please let me know in the comments, because I'm completely obsessed with this style now. Thanks for watching.